Welcome to the History of Western Philosophy. I'm your teacher, Richard Heiduke. During this course, we're going to take a wild ride through about 2,500 years of thinkers and their ideas. A good place to start is by exploring the course interface. We call it JIX. Take some time to look at the page, try the various links, and see what happens. When you first log on to the course, you'll see some items over on the lower right. You'll likely have to scroll down to see them all. Since we don't have a textbook for this course, these sections are really important. The upper section is called Handouts. Here you'll find documents of various sorts, PowerPoints, and PDFs in particular. Under Handouts, you'll find bookmarks. In this section, you'll find links to the text to read, audios to listen to, and videos to watch. Go ahead, try these out to make sure your browser, your computer equipment, has the appropriate add-ons. If you ever find a link that doesn't work, let me know and I'll try to fix it. By now, you already have an idea what kinds of activities you'll have in this course. You'll be reading. No shock there. It's hard to do anything in school without reading. We'll be doing less reading than you might imagine, however. We'll be reading a couple of Plato's dialogues, part of Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy, Immanuel Kant's Thoughts on the Nature of Enlightenment, William James and the Will to Believe, finally a piece from Recent Philosophy. We'll also read a few other smaller things. You'll likely find these to be strange and difficult, but one of my key objectives is to help you learn how to read real philosophy. I've chosen these bite-sized morsels to make it more manageable. For most of these things you read, you'll be conversing with your fellow students on the discussion board. I'll ask some questions, and you'll ask some questions. We'll explore what these philosophers are talking about. We inquire into how they might have influenced each other, and about their possible relevance for our world. We'll do something special with Plato, however. You'll notice fairly early on that Plato's main style was to write philosophy as a conversation. He depicts Socrates meeting with people and asking them questions, usually exploring the nature of some phenomenon with which he has been confronted. Sometimes he comes to a clear answer at the end of the dialogue. More often than not, however, he doesn't come to an answer, but to more questions. As you'll see, philosophy is dangerous that way. It commonly produces more questions than answers. So what will we do with Plato? In this course, we will flatter him with mimicry. Your assignment will be to find a partner and choose a topic that interests you and write a Platonic-style dialogue about it. You can have Socrates visit our own age and location, or another of your own choosing. This will challenge your skills in thinking, analyzing, and writing. The fun part will come in your final presentation of your work. I'd like you to go to extranormal.com, the site that you'll see me using this course, and input your dialogue there. Once you're done, you will post a link on the class discussion board so the rest of the class can learn from you. In addition to reading and writing, the bulk of your time will be spent listening to podcasts and watching videos. If listening is a challenge for you, the course website also will include links to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. We can work out alternative assignments that will enable you to get comparable material. When you listen, watch, or read, take notes. Then go over your notes and create a study guide for someone to use as they listen to what you've listened to. I'll give you some ideas on how to do that. Just watch the website. We'll share these notes on the discussion board and aim to perfect them. By framing these assignments as preparing to teach, my hope is that you'll have greater understanding of the philosophy. Let me warn you again, many of these will be difficult. You'll have to listen carefully and think deeply. You'll have to be willing to have your preconceptions challenged. You might even get uncomfortable. But that's okay. That's also why we'll be working on these cooperatively in the discussion board. We'll be able to check each other and correct each other. The second big project is what I call the philosophical timeline. I'll give you a list of philosophers, and your job is to create a timeline showing their names, dates, places, major works, major ideas, and their relationship to other philosophers. Let me add a footnote before I go farther. You need to know how to use two words. The first is work. When we refer to a philosopher's works, we're usually talking about the books, essays, and other writings he or she has produced. I think it's important to know the names of the major works of the major philosophers. Socrates is an important philosopher. He wrote nothing. Oddly enough, it's important to know that he wrote nothing. That is, that he produced no works. On the other hand, at the other end of the spectrum, his student Plato produced many works. When you do your timeline, the point is to present his major works, not usually all the works. Here's another important word: school. We think of schools as formal institutions where education takes place in a structured environment. That's a fine way to define the word. That's now how you'll need to use it, not how you'll need to use it in this project, however. When we speak of philosophical schools, what we're usually talking about are groups of philosophers who work within a single tradition or greatly influence each other. We might speak of the school of British empiricism, for example, identifying Locke, Berkeley, and Hume as the leading members. Or we might speak of continental philosophy and mention Michel Foucault, Emmanuel Levinas, and Jacques Derrida as some examples. You'll find that some philosophers can be completely and unambiguously listed as members of a particular school, while others are on the periphery. Some will even have feet in multiple schools. You can tell I speak metaphorically. How do you present the timeline? Be creative. Some people want to use Word, others want to use PowerPoint. Still others might create a video. One key thing is to make sure it's your own work. Where can you find the material to create your timeline? Well, if you look under bookmarks, you'll find links to those online encyclopedias I mentioned earlier. You might even find Wikipedia helpful. And as you use Google, you can find pictures to include in your presentation. What about tests? Well, there'll be some in this course. We'll have weekly quizzes over material that we cover. The main point of these quizzes will be to see if you've learned the major details of what we've covered. There will also be a final exam. The final will be drawn from the material you've included in your timeline project. For that reason, I'll be having you share your work with each other. These will be our study guides. When do you do what? If you look on the left side of the page, you see a link called Coursework. When you click on this link, it will take you to a page that lists everything for you to do. This is how you'll find what to do when. So how's that sound? Difficult? Challenging? I'm sure it may be both. My hope is that it's also interesting. I want our work in this course to sharpen your senses as you make your way through the world. If I'm successful, you'll begin to see signs of the ideas we explore in this class in your life experience. When you have questions, do what Socrates would do. Ask. Ask questions. This is philosophy, after all. You can't ask too many questions. I look forward to being with you this semester.